Hey everybody, my name is Ryan Medora, and I'm here to talk about bass. I think you are here to also talk about bass, or at least to listen to it. So that's what we're going to do. Today we're going to break down the meaning of C major. This is all about learning how to label things, how to understand chords and scales, and kind of like create an idea in your mind of what these things mean. It's super important to know what chords and scales are. It is some theory, but it's basic theory that we all really need to know and feel comfortable with. So we're going to try to make it easy for you. There are also a few other videos in this series. Check out the ones on A minor, kind of go with the same flow, and you can learn about minor scales and things. But for today, we're going to focus on good old C major. It's a good time, and we're going to focus on it with our 4-fret span. So we're going to place everything in the same position on the fretboard. We're going to be starting here. 3rd fret on our A string, find that nice old C, and I'm going to use my 4-fret span, so I'm going to start with my middle finger. And for all of the things in this video, we're using this fingering position, where if we're playing a note on the 3rd fret, we're going to use our middle finger. For notes on the 5th fret, we're going to use our pinky. For notes on the 2nd fret, we're going to use our index finger. And for anything on the 4th fret, we're going to use our ring finger. Now, if I went through this a little quickly, just know that there is tab and notation for this. If you head over to either my TrueFire channel or my Patreon page, you can find some of those things there. But in the meantime, you're here. Let's talk it out. Let's talk about C major. So typically, when someone says, hey, we're playing in the key of C, that is going to imply a certain amount of musical knowledge. We're going to basically start with our C major scale, and we're going to kind of build this pyramid where we're going to think about like the potential that we have to play all the notes that are in the C major scale. And then we're going to distill it and kind of like get closer and closer to just one single note being like, yeah, you know what? If we just want to get away with playing the root note C, we can totally do that. But we can also know that, like, yeah, we can play a C major scale, a C major pentatonic, which is a 5-note scale, a C major 7 chord, if we're playing a C major 7 chord, which is 4 notes, a C major triad, which is just 3 notes, a C power chord, or just the root in the 5th, and then finally the C at the top. So it's kind of make like a note pyramid with that shape. So let's break it down. So the first thing is our C major scale. We're going to go C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and we'll descend. And you can see that everything is within this 4-fret span position. So I'm starting with my middle finger. I'm using my pinky, 1st finger, middle, pinky, 1st finger, ring, pinky. And this is a 7-note scale with the octave on top. So these are all the notes. If somebody says, hey, we're playing in the key of C major, these are your good notes. Now, let's distill it a little bit more, because sometimes we don't want to play all the notes in the scale. We want to pick and choose. We want to make sure that we sound good. And we might use our C major pentatonic. Now, C major pentatonic is going to omit 2 of the notes from the regular major scale. And we're going to end up with the root note, C, the 2nd scale degree, D, the 3rd, E, and then we're going to skip the 4th. We're going to play the 5th, G, then the 6th, right here we've got an A, and then we're going to skip the 7th, B, and we'll just play the octave on top. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, octave, or C, D, E, G, A, C. Believe it or not, this is like the guitar part to My Girl. It's just C major pentatonic. But, as I said before, it's the guitar part. So if you're playing My Girl, let the guitar player play that part, and you play this part. But that's another lesson for another day. But you can hear how they sound very complementary. And they work together because they're playing in the key of C. How cool. So now that we've gone over our C major scale and our C major pentatonic, which is 5 notes, well, let's build a chord. So this is just going to be a C major 7th chord. That sounds nice. We have a root, a third, E. We have our fifth, G, and then the seventh, which is B. We could throw the octave on top. And that's got really nice ring to it. The one thing you want to be mindful of is sometimes you'll see a chord and it'll be like, all right, just C major, and it doesn't have a seventh listed. If it doesn't have a seventh listed, don't play the seventh. You don't need it right now. Just play the triad, which is 3 notes: the root, the third, and the fifth. Or C, E, G, throw the octave on top, C, G, coming back down, E, and C. So we kind of went from our C major scale, we took a few notes away, we got to the C major pentatonic, then we had a C major 7th chord, and then it's like, well, if we don't want to play the 7th, we just have a C major triad, C, E, G, 3 notes. If we want to distill it even more, we basically get to the bass part of My Girl. 5-1-1. That's pretty cool. G, C, C. Or the 5th of the chord and the root. So this is also known as like a power chord. Sometimes if a guitar player is playing a power chord, they're playing just the root and the 5th. For us as bass players, that means we also will play just the root and the 5th, and that's kind of a 2-note chord that we can use as we're playing. And then finally, we can omit the 5th and get just to our root note, C. So this is kind of the top of the pyramid. So we built C major scale, C major pentatonic, C major 7th chord, C major triad, C power chord, and then C at the top. So that's kind of that shape where we distill it to the 1 root note at the top. Now let's work backwards. So we're going to start with our root note, just C. If we want to add a good sounding note, we can add the 5th. I like to play it down here too. Aha, low G. And then we want to play a C major triad, the root, the 3rd, and the 5th. We could throw the octave on top, take it down, and then we can play a C major 7th chord, the root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th. We're going to add a note and make it the C major pentatonic. Well, we'll add a note and we'll subtract a note. We're going to get rid of the B, and we're just going to use the C major pentatonic. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, an octave. And then finally, the most notes, we have our C major scale. And there you have it. That's kind of our pyramid shape of what we can imply musically with C major. If someone's like, yeah, we're playing C major, these are the good notes that you can pull from. You know, if you see chords written on like a chord chart or a lead sheet and it just says a C and we don't have a 7th, you don't need to play the 7th. Just stick to your triad, or you could even play the C major pentatonic, and those are going to sound really good. Or if you're like, yeah, I'm playing in the key of C major, I'm going to use all the notes, you know what you can do. So again, figure this out on the fretboard, take advantage of good positioning using your 4-fret span, and if you like tab or notation for this, you can head over to either my Patreon page or my TrueFire channel. And in the meantime, head over to my website for even more goodies. So I hope you dug this. Happy practicing, everybody. Keep it groovy.